in with Michael Malice, author of Dear Reader, the unauthorized autobiography of Kim Jong-il. Thank you so much for being here. So Americans now are very concerned. If you see this CBS poll, how do you feel about the North Korean situation, showing that 72% are uneasy about a possible conflict, and then North Korea's development of a weapon is 60% believe a threat that can be contained. Now, that was a poll taken days ago.
Yeah.
I wonder what people would think now. What do you think?
Well, first of all, I think this Guam story is something that has to be taken with a great deal of skepticism. From my understanding, it came from South Korean media, and South Korean media told us that Kim Jong-un's uncle was eaten by dogs, and that was later proven to be false. So they're very sensationalistic about North Korea.
Because they want to try to provoke a reaction from President Trump, like the one that they had today?
No, it's just like the fake news here. They just want to run with whatever crazy story that makes them look interesting.
This is not coming from the government necessarily?
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly. So at the same time, you know, when you hear analysts on TV talking about how North Korea are crazy and they're not rational actors, think about it this way. We have a lot of people who watch the show who are strong supporters of the Second Amendment. If Rex Tillerson showed up at their house and knocked on the door and said, "Give me your guns," you can imagine the reaction would be no and shut up. But then if he also said, "Let's sit down and talk," they'd be very skeptical of, why do I want to talk to this guy who wants to take away our guns? So they are very rational in their behavior, but they are also very evil, sinister people.
As I understand it, the North Koreans want survival of the regime.
Right.
And they believe that having nuclear weapons helps ensure that survival.
Correct.
But using those nuclear weapons would ensure its demise.
Oh, 100%. Now, if you have one shot to take, you're not going to be taking it at Guam. You're going to be taking it at a major urban center.
Right.
So that is even more reason why I'm very skeptical about this. However, this is the reason they're in power. Kim Jong-il's philosophy was called Sungun, which means military first. So the entire basis of their ideology is our military comes first, and but for our military, we don't have food and we don't have government. So how do you convince a regime who operates under these assumptions, whose propaganda is based on these assumptions, to kind of de-escalate? It's almost impossible to figure out how to square this circle.
What are the dangers, having, you know this man better than anyone, how would this regime react to something that might be an accident, right? Is there a potential now that things could ratchet up so much that Kim Jong-un overreacts to something and sparks an actual military conflict?
I mean, anything is conceivable. However, I mean, they want to survive. They have been around for 70 years, and they've outlasted everyone in the Soviet bloc except for Cuba. So obviously they're doing something right in maintaining their hold in power. And in fact, when Kim Jong-il took over for his father, Kim Il-sung, his campaign slogan was, "Do not expect any change from me." So they have had a consistent ideology for 70 years.
How isolated do you think they feel after the UN Security Council vote on Saturday?
They like being isolated because they call themselves a shrimp among whales, and they revel in the fact that they're a small country that, in their words, slaps America across the face. So this is a source of pride that it's us against the world for them, which makes it even more difficult to try to get them to engage with other countries.
So then, as we look to China to try to help
Right.
us, with the sanctions that were put in place, it's about $1 billion, which will hurt, but will it hurt enough? Or do you think there needs to be more pressure brought to bear?
I mean, they were more than happy to allow 10% of the population to starve during the 90s and blame the U.S. imperialists for it, as they called it. So I don't know if the sanctions are going to work in that way. However, the good thing about the sanctions is it showed an international community allied against them. So instead of them saying it's the Americans versus us, now it's the whole world against them. And it's a very different situation.
All right, good. Thank you so much, Michael.